All right. So who is still inside the metaverse? And is the technology useful, or are we just looking for a problem to solve? Let's make sense of these questions and more with my guest, Rebecca Orlov, named one of the most inspirational women in Web3 and the founder of Epic Playdate, a creative studio where Rebecca creates memorable experiences to activate and engage people. Rebecca is going to help us continue the conversation about virtual reality. But first, welcome to this week's episode of Make Sense, a video podcast that simplifies complex issues at the intersection of tech and people. So whether you're totally hyped on artificial intelligence and ready for the robot takeover, or you want to crawl into a cave after deleting all of your social media accounts, I'm here with my guest to help make sense of what's going on so you can design yourself into the future. My name is Lindsay Tavis. I'm a product market fit strategist and innovation advisor. I've always been obsessed with designing technology for people, and that's where Make Sense comes from. So let's get started. Rebecca, how are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me on, Lindsay. Happy to be here.
Yes, I'm so excited. I always love your energy. Let's just jump right in. So first segment is Crystal Ball. What does the future hold? This is where I call out interesting predictions for this year, and the experts, my guests, tell us their hot take. Like, how this works is I'm going to do this rapid fire, and Rebecca, I want you to say like, yay, nay, no, I don't want that to happen. And at the end, maybe we'll pick one to talk a little bit further about. So are you ready?
I am ready. And I haven't heard this yet, so this is all new. This is all fresh. Okay.
All right, and we'll get into this with Rebecca, but I know she is a mom, so you might know a little bit about this. Tech-enabled immersive teaching. So VR and AR are bringing immersive experiences to students. So is this happening? Is this not happening? Do you want it to happen?
I absolutely want it to happen as a complement to teaching. Yes, it's amazing.
Okay, great. Have you seen it at all in what your daughter is up to?
Not currently, but I have been following this wonderful person on LinkedIn, and she introduced and was able to get AR headsets into her public school. And I think it's something I might consider doing for my county where I live. I think it's special and really important as we move forward.
That is awesome. Do you know what the application was? Was it a specific topic or?
Well, they really just needed hardware to begin, much like anything. So,
okay.
They need right now, like my daughter in her county, every student gets a Chromebook to rent or lease for the year, so to speak. And we did that through funding. So it's going to take a minute, but I think getting the hardware is important. And then of course, developing that software that they're going to use.
And the curriculum and what goes in there. Mm-hmm. Right. Cool. So artificial intelligence will gain multiple senses, including smell, going digital. Do we want that?
We do. I think that AI will be multisensory, of course, and multifaceted, as we know. I think the biggest ones right now, of course, are visual and spatial hearing, spatial audio.
Right. Audio and visual. I know it's been for a long time since I was in grad school in San Francisco in the mid-2000s, just talking about all of the different senses eventually making their way into our digital experience. So what that
totally
looks like, tastes like, smells like.
You know what? Well, we actually have touch because we have haptic experience. There's actually not as many as you would think yet, but whether your phone moves, there's going to be a bit more haptic. And then, of course, we're going to don or wear, I think, clothing that is future forward, which will have options for smell, touch, more touch and feel. Maybe.
It's so interesting because since I was in college, we've been talking about nanotechnology, and that comes in the form of, over the past 15, 16 years, like high performance fabrics that, can process information or dry really quickly or do something that we might have already deemed as like magical in the past. So are you saying that we're going to have more of this, more wearables?
I definitely think there's going to be more wearables in everyday apparel. So, and it's interesting because if you look at the longevity or not, well, the growth and the history of wearables, they're still like fairly benign and clunky. They're still quite, they're not as immersed into our everyday experiences, and they're not really, there's not enough, as enough options for look, feel, color, vibe that people want in their apparel and accessories across the board. So
Right.
there's still like pretty a small like field of options. But I do think that as we move more into AR experiences, when the hardware is available to us, it's not exactly available yet. And of course that software, I think fashion, in addition to digital fashion, but fashion in real life with like the option to have more sense and touch. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be huge.
100%. I think what we need to think about on the back end, or what I would want the audience to kind of know, is that when it comes to whether it's wearables or the general umbrella of Internet of Things, so your Alexa and your Nest and your Ring doorbell and stuff, we are still very much working on securing those devices and securing the data those devices send to, your router and then eventually make into the cloud. So not to get too esoteric, because makes sense, but I am also going to hope that along with all these trends is we start to really get better with the field is called edge computing, and the security around the edge, device, information exchange.
Correct.
That all secure, right?
I think, well, with anything, security is huge, and it's as constant as we are as humans breathing. I mean, it has to be on all the time, and it's something that is still quite not up to par. How's that?
It's not up to par for like pervasive devices that are around the house.
Correct.
So,
yes.
All right. Finally, and I picked this one for a few reasons.
Okay.
One, you posted something I thought was interesting, but this has come up on Make Sense a lot. Metaverse going professional. Okay. Now, Mark Zuckerberg finally admitted that metaverse is just virtual reality, which I'm pretty sure we all knew. He gave it a new name. But we're still looking for applications or where metaverse can get a foothold in the general population, right? And when it comes to going professional and work, you shared that Snap announced augmented reality enterprise services. So 2 things right here is the augmented reality piece with Snap, and then that they're going to do enterprise and not consumer. So I'd love to know more.
Yeah. So, may I? Okay. So I do feel, so metaverse to me is really, I wouldn't say it's virtual reality. This is why.
Okay.
It might fall into that. But to me, metaverse, which is to me singular, which is just like the internet is singular, it's the persistent worlds, communities, meaning they go on and on and on and on forever. There's a great article about Taylor Swift is already forming essentially a metaverse without it being digital because of the fandom and the community rallying around her and the ability to be persistent in her experiences, like continuous loop ongoing. Right. So metaverse is a virtual space, hence virtual reality, which I do agree with. But to me, it's persistent worlds. So, and the true idea of metaverse is what people are defining it as, is one that is interoperable, meaning you can move from world to world to world to world with your own backpack of goods. Unlike now, because of if you purchase something through Apple, that's an Apple product, you can't bring that over to Microsoft. That's a good example of something not being able to move. That's not interoperable. So the idea with ownership on the blockchain is that you own your assets, your data, your experiences. Unlike now where we are paying essentially, like I pay, I'm a website, we do website design. We pay our clients pay to host their website to Shopify, WordPress, Squarespace, so you're paying for that versus owning it outright, which is a little different. That being said, Snap. So Snap is interesting. They of course are going to still do custom individual facing experience. That's their bread and butter, and that's beautiful. Snap, RS, which is augmented reality enterprise services, is going to help service companies to create augmented reality experiences. So we're introduced, so for example, Epic Playdate is introducing AR web AR or AR filters as a product. And we're doing that because we build websites, we create visual stories. Why not continue the story experience through an AR experience? Whether you scan a QR code through your phone and it launches as a web AR experience into a browser. And some cool like forms around your, let's say you're drinking a glass of wine at a bar and you scan the coaster. Something can happen around virtual around this glass of wine. So, or the filter you can create for a client inside of Snap. And that, Starbucks is launching a filter experience. So they're just going to be providing services much like that to companies. So
helping. Okay, so let me ask questions to make sense of this, and hopefully I can understand.
Okay.
So one, when we talk about augmented reality, it's not very out there. We're talking about using Snap or Instagram or TikTok to create filters on our face and put sunglasses or, party hats or what would our face look like contoured and stuff like that. That's just augmenting your reality.
Yep.
Right. So Snap is already in the business of this, has been in the business of this for a very long time as a consumer product. And so are they just saying, hey, we've been really great at this and we've built an entire business off of this? Starbucks, their app could use some cool AR experiences, right? Is that what we're like? I could scan my Starbucks coffee cup and, like you said, it could put a party hat on my coffee cup.
Exactly. So Snapchat started as a community and then they started monetizing. So what they do, ads, then brand partnerships, and now they're doing various channels of financial pathways, right, of monetization. So filters is a layperson's definition of augmented reality, right? They've been in the business of AR since they began, okay? So Snap is so invested in augmented reality that they have created Snap Studio, which is an intuitive drop and drag platform that any person can sign up for and use. Because they want creators like you and me. Anyone who's on Snapchat is a creator. Right. You are. You just are a user and a creator. If you're going to be creating an experience and sharing it to your community, you're a creator. So you have access to existing Snapchat filters that they create, creator filters that you can go and find any of them. You can search now. But you can also create your own. So of course they found a gap in the market for everyday companies, whether you're a small mom and pop or you are the Starbucks of the world. They want to now monetize that pathway specifically for enterprise, which is smart. It's the same experience, probably with a bit more hand-holding. Yeah. Because typically I would imagine teams and marketing teams and digital teams, social teams inside of larger companies might not have an AR person yet. So they would,
or they might not have an AR strategy
or an AR studio or any of those things. So I see the gap too, which is why Epic Playdate, we are offering web AR or browser-based AR. You don't even need to go into Snapchat or Instagram Reels or TikTok to do that. You can it launches right into your Safari or Chrome. Yeah. Marketing campaign. It runs for 1 day, 7 days, whatever that is. So we're just starting this now.
So Rebecca, you're in marketing. And so the one thing that comes to mind when I start thinking about logistics of how this works is Snap helping Starbucks, I'm just using this example, to create AR experiences inside Snap, or are they selling their technology so that Starbucks could wrap it in their app experience?
Sure. Really good question. It's the former.
Okay.
So it's in tandem with collaboration with Snapchat. So Snapchat wants you creating, but they want you creating in Snapchat. They don't want you creating for anything else.
Got it. So they're not going to white label there.
So one company I've been following a lot in Snapchat, and if you're not in Snap, oh my gosh, go in. It is so cool and so fun. I will tell you, I'm pretty intuitive and savvy. Their interface is a bit clunky. It's a lot. It is a lot for you.
It always has been. Though.
Yeah. And now they just announced Snapchat Plus about 3 weeks ago. And you have like an AI assistant. I mean, it's a paid for subscription, $2.99 a month, but I'm not quite there yet. We'll get there. I'm doing other AI things. But what I like about AI of Snap is that, well, real quickly, I took the creative lead product dev lead, for Snap, was one of the professors in I took the Wharton Executive Education Business and the Metaverse Economy course, a 6-week course in the fall. And she was one of the professors. And so what I love about many of the things she said, they are so committed. Snap is the only social community that when you open up the Snapchat app, it's on you, the user, not on your scroll of other people, whether they're friends, family, or random people you follow. And there's something really powerful about that.
So it opens up with like the camera.
It opens up on you, right? The camera's facing you. So one thing I want to share quickly, we mentioned just like, how does this work with large companies maybe partnering? So would Starbucks partner? They're not partnering with Snapchat. They're using Snap as a vehicle to get to millions of potential Starbucks drinkers, in addition to their other channels that they're marketing to. That being said, Dior has a fantastic experience inside Snapchat, full of really great filters that are there. And high luxury is in my umbrella I'm talking about. So Dior, and then of course Cartier, a really refined luxury watch and jewelry company, but known for their watches as well, has a beautiful, one of the most immersive experiences I've ever seen in Snapchat now. So Snapchat, as I shared, is typically a filter on you, the user, or forward facing. It's something, a canvas around you, whether it's the ceiling of your home or the floor, something's happening. With the Cartier experience that I actually wrote about on LinkedIn about 5-6 weeks ago, you go into what I feel like is a movie. It's like cinema, and you're on a bridge in Paris, and you go through the decades, and you are in the same spot, but the landscape changes, the environment changes based on the decade, and therefore the watch that was popular at the time, Cartier. So there was something, and then guess what? You could try it on. There's a new technology where you can try it on. So I just, there's so much happening in the filter experience, and most people, let alone companies, let alone people, know how to do these. So again, this is like really timely because that's something that Epic Playdate, we're, in addition to like our marketing, creative and strategy and design, we want to expand storytelling to augmented reality campaigns. Yeah.
I think you might have just convinced me to download Snap and reopen it. I tried. I had one summer in 2016 where I said, I'm going to use Snapchat for the next 6 weeks and see if I can figure it out.
You know what? I know it's funny. You can figure it out, but I think someone like you, Lindsay, who's like also super curious, just for the sake of like human behavior, like how are people using this?
Right.
And there's so much happening in there because, there's just a lot. People live their lives inside of Snap. I will tell you, older Zs, so like 16 to 21, are really saturated into Snap and Twitter of all places. But those are the networks they're really in. TikTok, of course, but really Snapchat still, they're there. That's how they talk to each other.
It's so fascinating. I would love to see kind of like the overlap of all of the apps, because I've been in the process of kind of limiting my use, right?
For your sanity. Yes.
For my sanity. Well, also, it's been a while since we last spoke, but I had kind of deleted Instagram in November so that I could write the script that I'm working on. So, and then it just hasn't come back. So we shall see. So Metaverse is kind of going professional. In this example with Snap and augmented reality enterprise services, it's a business function, but it's still consumer facing. So this isn't an experience for professionals in their work environment.
Yeah, I don't know yet. No. I do think, listen, all of these companies need to make money. They're like, we're communities. Well, you actually provided access and technology support for communities to thrive. That's what they've done. Now they want to monetize. They now have, the people have come. Now they want to leverage that and monetize against it on all the channels. Yeah.
Well, let's keep going. I think you and I could probably talk for a long time on that one. So speaking of the metaverse, our next segment is, how did we get here and where can we go? Technology moves super fast, and the news likes to tout all the investments and the future possibilities, but sometimes it can be far from reality. So in this segment, I'm just going to grab some interesting headlines and we're going to talk through them specifically. So there was a headline last year from MIT's technology review that read, "The metaverse has a groping problem already." So a woman was sexually harassed on Meta's VR platform. Now, I know, Rebecca, that you have founded Meta Mamas, and it is dedicated to helping moms advocate and support their children's creative pursuits while also putting up guardrails. So one, like, how does someone get groped in the metaverse? And then, yeah, what can moms do when their kids are metaverse curious?
Such an important safety is 100% paramount and must be discussed and not discussed enough when we're talking about these tools across the board. And I'm going to call them Web3 tools because we're in Web3 as a space of time, not that they live on blockchain right now. To be clear. Web3 is a space of time. We've entered it around 2020, which is where technology is shifting with introductions such as AI, AR, XR, which is mixed media, of course, blockchain technologies and more. So safety. So I have a 9-year-old daughter and safety is paramount. I want her to be digitally savvy, and she is, and she enjoys it. Of course, we toe the line and balance between in real life experiences and digital connectivity. We have a technology schedule, just like she has a chore schedule. So it's kind of rolls into that. So to answer your question first, how does someone get groped in the metaverse? So I can't share, I don't have a personal experience that did not happen to me, but I read about that. But this is something I can share to an experience that I had with my daughter in regards to feeling uncomfortable. Right. Not sexually, but just in the presence of people. So she spends time in what's called walled garden games, such as Roblox, Minecraft, Fortnite. She doesn't go into Fortnite, but these are examples of what's called a walled garden. Why a walled garden? Because when you're inside the game and let's say you purchase something using your actual money, but in the form of digital currency known as cryptocurrency, whether it's Robux or Minecraft coins or whatever that is, you keep it inside of that game. You can't take let's say you bought like a bow and arrow or you created a bow and arrow in Minecraft. You can't move that to Roblox. It's a walled garden. You just live inside that. So I let her play. All the settings are pretty much locked down. I have pretty parental control over that. But that being said, I was watching her one time. We were kind of playing together and she was in a Roblox world. Roblox is just a platform where worlds are deployed. And this person, because she can go into game or worlds that other people are in. She can't talk to them and they can't talk to her. That's important for me. But she's in there and she kind of moves around and she's very creative and curious. And this person kept following her. I'm like, what is going on? This person keeps following you. She's like, I know, I can't get them away from me. That to me was, wow, my mom like flag went up. My mama bear was like, hold on. That was a trigger because that's happening all the time. Yeah. Would that happen in real life? Could you imagine if a physical experience like that where a person was all over my child, let's say, and wouldn't leave her alone? Well, oh my gosh, could you imagine? So that feeling of uncomfortability, challenge of space, kind of that all those feelings that anyone would have. So
is there like a sense of personal space in
totally. You feel
the metaverse? Okay.
And be completely invaded. And that's what happened. And so as a 9-year-old, I'm teaching her tools and skill sets to be able to navigate through experiences in real life and also online. So what did we do? I said, Sophia, let's remove ourselves from this world right now. And we did. We exited that game and we took a break and it gave us a chance to kind of talk about it briefly. But I want to be clear, like there is, and that might seem very benign and small, but it's a big deal. Imagine that happening every time you go on. So while I don't know this, I think I know a little bit about the story you were sharing. There's a lot happening just in personal space and it's very uncomfortable. So I don't know. There's a lot that has to go on. So much has to go on from an ethical point of view, a moral point of view, that everyone's talking about how these tools are working. Let's talk about some of the safety around them.
Right. Especially with children. I'm guessing 100%. Roblox doesn't have any specific safeguards to having like adults in there, do they?
They're not being monitored. Sorry to interrupt. Well, do you want to, sorry, interrupt you? They're not like, they have rules and they have, they're not monitored to your point, I think, to your point. There's no one, like, there's no adult in there that's like, okay, I'm the police and I'm going to there's no policing. Like, there's no one in there that's watching.
Yeah, and there's no lifeguards watching.
No lifeguards, exactly. So there has to, and that's like, so Meta Mamas, the idea that the planted seed I have of Meta Mamas which is still a work in progress, for the name, because it's not just about moms. It's intentional parents and guardians. It's people who
it just sounds cool.
I know. I'm like, it
just sounds really cool.
It's not like meta. Like, I'm not a big Facebook person, so I'm like, oh, okay. But that being said, it's really an educational platform and community so that any person who is intentional as a parent or guardian can onboard to Web3 as a space of time and some of the experience inside of that. And then at least understand enough where you can become an advocate for the child in your life, in particular the GenAlpha kiddo, which is about 1 years old to like 10, 11 years old. So my daughter's 9, so she falls in that.
There's something kind of like theory or philosophy that's percolating up here. I remember someone saying back in the day, there was a Gawker site called Valleywag, and it was like Silicon Valley gossip. And I might have had a few years where I was like very obsessed and also knew like the head kind of editor and stuff, because it was a small community in Silicon Valley in the mid 2000s. And I remember someone saying like, generally if you're an asshole in real life, you're going to come off as one online. And if you're an asshole like online, like people are going to like figure it out. And I think what I'm thinking about is the multi-channel experiences. I spoke with Catherine McKee on a previous episode about e-commerce and how we need to treat a person the same in online and in person, and know that that person might do stuff online and then show up in person, want a seamless experience. Children, and if we're offering seamless experiences in terms of shopping, it happens everywhere, right? It used to be really weird to like make a Twitter friend and meet them in person. Now it's not. So for kids, like, stuff that happens in the chat rooms or nowadays on Instagram, like it gets carried over into their real life, right? Like there really isn't that distinction. And so helping children identify scary feelings and behaviors and things that they experience online, it's not just happening in a vacuum online, right? And it's not necessarily like we want them to take it as seriously because it's a seamless experience, but it can be. Yeah.
I mean, even though they're quote playing a game, right, inside of these walled garden experiences, they know, I do believe, and I think for most part, parents are, that it is seamless. Like your digital footprint is just like your real footprint as you move through life every day. So I will say, actually, interestingly, timing that we're talking now, 2 weeks ago, I was so excited. I was invited to speak. I'm actually speaking next week for NAB, which is the Association of Broadcasters. It's an annual show in Las Vegas about like the state of Web3 and NFTs. That's really cool. But the same day I was invited, this is like 6 weeks ago, I was invited to speak for the PTA at my daughter's school. And I was like equally excited. I'm not even kidding. I was like, yeah, because it was like on internet safety. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so excited to do that, which was 2 weeks ago. So I spoke to the PTA. I'm on the PTA, but I'm not able to be super involved with my time. But it was so great to go. And it was like 30 adults and parents from the school. And we did a program that was actually, we got a grant through Google and did this really great program, but we talked a lot about this. And I think a lot of it is a mix of tools that will be available. They aren't yet for these games. They are for apps and they are for phones. So I knew some of them and some I learned. There's some fantastic tools, apps that you can pay for where you can monitor and manage, I say, your underage child's activity, where you can support them, which is unintrusive, whether it's Life 360, which many people might know, which is an app where you can connect your family and friends, and it's geo-tracking. So you can see where someone is and and there's other features as well. So there's several tools and apps available now for app experiences where we can help each other because life is different now than when I grew up in the 80s. And it was like, come home at like, when the lights go on, we know that, or now it's like, where are they now? And so they're there. and there is a feeling of safety, and because you can also communicate with the child.
Yeah.
You can also see what's going on the monitor and have those conversations in real life outside of the digital side.
So are you saying that there's like there's more than just like Life 360 that can help you support your kid as they explore these games in virtual worlds?
Not yet. They are available for apps. There's app, meaning on your phone. So your mobile phone or tablet as a device, as an experience. There are so many apps now that can actually help manage. You can see what's happening in text message chains. You can see where a child is who is 16, 17 driving, let's say, or a kiddo. There's people are air tagging or eye watches to see location wise. As far as a walled garden game and the metaverse, from what I know, I haven't heard of it yet. There is no tool yet for true safety. It will, I'm sure it's being created, but it absolutely, listen, we have police officers in real life. We have laws. We have structure. We learn very early on when you're walking, you walk on the right side because when you want to pass, all those things, left side, the left lane's fast, right lane's left. You learn just tools
look
of
both ways when you cross
look both ways. Exactly. So the tools of society have been created. Well, with Web3, especially in regards to like decentralization, which is not all Web3 in my opinion, because not everything's going to be decentralized. We're going to be a hybrid, I bet. But Web3, again, it's just a space of time, undefined time. We're in it now because technology's changed, but there are no tools yet in my understanding, my knowledge that are really going to help in any meaningful way to monitor and protect or provide a safety layer to not just kids, but people. Yet it's very, what they say, Wild Wild West and all those things. It is true. There is nothing really out there. There's little stories coming out like so-and-so was able to file a police report on someone, or this article I think that you referenced, but nothing meaningful, especially not for kids. My daughter is not allowed in any metaverse experiences, and she's quite monitored when I let her into walled garden. So we'll see, but a lot to come on that. And there's a lot of
I can't imagine my AOL chats being monitored from the mid 90s being monitored by
So my very dear friend for 30 years, my best friend, she's like, you introduced me to the internet. She's like, you showed me AOL chat. I was in college. She's like, what is a chat room? What do I ask? She's like, ask about your clothes. Like, what do you wear? What are cool clothes do you wear? So, to your point, no way. Of course, nothing was being monitored. But now, let me tell you, my daughter's not allowed in group chats, unless it is because all the settings are off. She is allowed, because I've connected her through a family account, through my, because we're an Apple family. So through iCloud, through our cloud accounts, she's connected to mine. So I can let her she has an iCloud email, so she can connect with her friends in a private chat room. And these are friends of hers, and I know the parents.
But not public chat rooms.
Totally, private chats. So
got it.
And, I'm safe with that, but oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine if it was just like wide open, if there were no friends.
It sounds like the equivalent of like going to the mall with your parents and them letting you walk around with your friends, right?
Unless that was mom 6 feet behind.
Right, kind of thing, right? Like mom's loitering outside the stores while you're.
I was funny you brought up the mall. I was talking about the mall a few months ago, and I just love a good mall. My kid will never understand what it felt like to go to the mall, walk around, and go to the food court. Come on,
the food court. All right. So up next. What do you know? This is where us relatively intelligent tech ecosystem insiders discuss what a hot mess maybe has made national news. We don't claim to be experts, but we may know more than you do. This might not be such a hot mess, this episode. So, but it's interesting. There are a combination of headlines about generative AI that piqued my interest. So here are two to set the stage. First, the first proper AI-generated movie is tormenting, accurate, and scary. That's one headline. And then second, a deepfake video of Harry Potter characters in faux Balenciaga fashion goes viral. So what is generative AI? Like, what's your simplest definition of generative AI?
So, well, generative is like generative is layperson's term, like algorithmic unrolling. You know, there
Like
is
it creates its own thing. Is
yes.
that
Well,
it?
it's taught to it's the binary code created to whether it's like everything we have digitally is like binary code, right? Well, there's a code language. And so like I'm not always the technical person. So let's see. The generative idea
you don't have to
do it. So it can output something different every time. But there's a code, and so generative. So AI is artificial intelligence. So what artificial intelligence is? Artificial intelligence, a very layperson's definition would be machine learning.
Right.
So
like
a machine, a computer, was fed a model.
Yeah. Lots of data.
Lots of data. Yes. And it was, well, how about this? If maybe you watched the movie War Games back in the 80s, the machine was taught certain models and how to recreate them for the best outcome. So Google Maps, you've been using AI, think about it, machine learning all the time if you use Google Maps. It gives you the fastest route. How does it do that and why? Because it's trained by a model, which is data, code language, to produce efficiency. That is Google Maps, by the way. You have to turn that off, okay, if you want it. It's not the best route. It's the fastest route. So that is the best outcome. And that is based on where you are. There's like so many factors that go into it, but that's technically a machine word. Okay.
So artificial intelligence, it's like in the Google Map example, is that Google Map is collecting driving data all the time, every time people use it. And so it can calculate actual drive times, and it can get smarter about finding the fastest route, not just based on past drive times, but current drive times from other people. And it just gets smarter and smarter on that. So that's AI. Generative AI, is that just AI creating things on its own?
It is creating things by being prompted.
Got it.
Right.
Okay.
So generative AI, because there's an algorithm attached to it, AI is learning. So it's a tool. It's a data set that, well, real quickly, here's a great, I hope a very visual and easy to understand. If you plant a seed, it will grow, and it's going to grow different, root out of its roots. It's going to grow different leaves and bark and stems. And that is essentially, think about that. It's like learning to keep going, and the sun, it wants to grow towards the sun. And if you cut a piece off, it's going to keep growing this way. Right. It's, so it's learn. I mean, in many ways, let's say it could be learned. So generative AI are data sets, modules that are learning, that are placed inside of a prompt system where if you put something in, it should deploy or produce an outcome. Now, companies, people have fed this machine information, such as, here's the colors of the rainbow. Here's how to say count to 1 to 10 in Spanish. I'm just making, very, Yeah.
Draw me a rainbow in Gothic colors
I had to teach it first. So before it got deployed to us as humans, it was created by people and companies, and they built the infrastructure. And now that they unleashed it to us, it's growing exponentially because there's so many people using it that it can't help but grow. Think about it like that, right?
So is it restricted to like, I don't know, like DALL-E, where you give it a prompt and it creates an image? Or I guess the movie, they gave it a prompt and it created a movie?
Sure. So no, not at all. So there are probably, there's thousands of AI tools now. And the ones that people hear about are fairly common right now are DALL-E, which is DALL-E, Midjourney. These are two more popular right now prompt to image generators. Got it. There is also text to image generators or text to text. So you might have heard of Chat GPT. To be clear,
talked about it a lot.
Yeah,
makes sense.
That's to be clear. And I talked about this. GPT is not a company. GPT has been around for years. Go to Google, has a whole business section. It is a transformer.
Yeah.
The company is called OpenAI. GPT modeling has been around forever. And it's almost like when Xerox came out. People are like, make me a Xerox. You're like, actually, it's a copy, right? But it got, the branding was so fantastic.
Right.
So GPTs have been around forever. And so what they're doing is you can put something in. The machine was taught by people before it was launched to the public. It got ready and it's set to learn machine learning, AI. And so the more people that start using it, the more people. So there's think of something and you can do it. You can do video to video, which I just recently did. And I showed that on LinkedIn. You can do text to image, video to text to image, text to video, text to music. I mean, you name it. They can edit for you. They can talk for you. So generative AI, and there's so many different kinds. So what's happening now are, you mentioned deep fakes. So deep fake is really a term for a fake person. So it's not you. Let's say someone took my voice and they put it against another image or it was an avatar of that looks like a human of me talking. That's a fake. They can, so, and there's platforms that do that. I actually took a flat image, a JPEG of one of my NFTs just to see, which is a illustration of a girl and her voice moved. It was kind of cool. It actually worked. They got my eye movement down because I listened to the inflection. I did an audio memo on my phone. I recorded myself talking. I uploaded that to like the I think it was like an MP3. I uploaded that to this platform. I uploaded my image and then it processed it. And then the flat image, the JPEG started moving, talking like this. Her eyes would move, like, kind of like inflection based on the inflection of my voice.
That fake was a cartoon though. So is it an avatar, right?
Well,
but it's not like, let me back up.
Okay.
I guess the way I'm thinking, I've heard about deepfake is that it is like you could show a video, take all the videos off my YouTube channel and make a version of me saying things that I never said.
Correct.
And it could look very, very real. And there would only be maybe very small things that would like, a spot on my chin being accidentally blurred that would lead you to figure out that this was a robot created version of me and not an actual version.
Yes, that has happened. To your point. Yeah. So the challenge with that is that is happening. So what people are doing are like this live, video podcast we're doing right now, it wouldn't work right now because the model hasn't learned yet. Like it's just me talking, but I could take all of this and then I could, let's say I used a platform like Otter AI or Firefly AI. These are listening artificial intelligence platforms. I would take I would transcribe our conversation. I could load it up to one of these platforms. I could pull an avatar. Maybe I wanted, a 10-year-old girl. I mean, you can pull anything you want. You can pick the style of voice, the inflection of the voice, the tone of the voice, all of that. And then you pick your avatar person and it will become a moving image, if you will, but it's not a real person. It is a fake person, but it looks real. And people are doing that. They don't want to be forward facing but they want human presence. And so they can create like a deep fake of that.
I have seen this as also like the next generation of like chatbots. You're on Verizon's website and instead of a chatbot, you're talking to like a person. It looks like you're actually talking to a real person, but that person is a robot.
Yeah. I mean, so it's a robot by this, I don't know, is it a robot or is it AI? Like, what is that? That's another conversation. Right?
Is AI. I mean, I call ChatGPT my robot thought partner. That came from one of my earlier guests on Make Sense. So
yeah, I don't know. I don't agree. I don't know if I agree with that because
think robots are like the physical, like
anthropomorphic
interpretation
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what a robot is.
So I think like, I do think that there are, but so here's my challenge with all of this. I mean, I have a lot of challenges with it. Do I think it's cool and interesting? I mean, yeah, it's wild. Everyone's like, I mean, it's like shocking, like in many ways. My challenge with it is that so many people are using these tools to see, so many people are promoting these tools to see, hey, I did this, it does this, but do you know how it really works or why you're using it? So I think that like a lot of thought leaders on like some of the channels I'm on, like LinkedIn, are like, look at this, but they don't offer any information or takeaways or value of why. My hope is that in my shares, I'm offering a bit of value, at least an opinion, and why this might make sense wrapped around visual storytelling or marketing experiences, because that's what I love and that's what I do in my company, Epic Playdate. But like at the end of the day, there's these tools. None of them are working well. They work. Are they working well? I mean, they're going to, meaning there's no bar yet, but they aren't providing the value add, in my opinion, yet that I know it can be. And I think that there's not enough of information yet about the challenges that this type of automated support will bring to people and to companies and to experiences. So like deep fakes, for example, like so here's an example. Unreal, Unity is a company, Unreal Engine is their product. They create photorealistic games like Fortnite, you might have been, really seamless, really styled, and wow, they're powerful. Lots of software. They just had a State of the Union like a week ago, and it was so fascinating. They had a real person come out, an actress. She did a bit of a monologue, and then they showed right there how fast, how efficient it was to take that, which would take weeks and months and, you know, in post-production. And they, with like a flip of a switch or a button, so to speak, they were able to move her through like 5 different avatar styles, different looks and feels, whether it was human to human or human to digital illustration or whatever. It was wild. And I think that so people are in entertainment are creating like, there's new experiences where it's going to save them money. It's going to be more efficient from a cost perspective. Right.
So yeah. I can participate here. In the world of entertainment, like let's think about, you know, our children, you know, they love a Disney character or something. What's a character that kids love these days?
Oh, well, Pokemon.
Okay, so Pokemon, right? So a company that owns Pokemon can basically like their whole IP around Pokemon, like every single character, every single animation cell, they can use as a data set to train a model and then give that model to all of the kids. And the kids can say like, take this picture and add like Pokemon to it and put us in Paris. And like, so it gives children another way to engage with the content and create their own things with it. With the IP, from like the entertainment IP.
Yeah, I definitely think there's opportunity there, and they would just like relicense it and sell it and monetize that. You know, it's funny, like between the generative AI experiences and all the tools, I do think some of them are really cool and they are so helpful in regards to efficiency. Time.
That's it.
But I do feel that like my focus, like, well, 2 things. One, my personal focus and professional focus is really on AR and how that is enhancing storytelling experiences. So much to come. Like in the future, everyone does like email marketing now. Like here's your email in your inbox. They're going to have storytelling campaigns through AR experiences. That will start more. Back to the generative AI, and especially being a mother to a GenAlpha, a young person, it is incredibly like combination of soul inducing, like searching, like, oh my God, is this ethical and moral, to scary, to like, what does this mean for a young person to navigate through real life, to exciting because technology is shifting. And, you know, as someone who's a bit forward thinking, I think it's fascinating and I'm excited about a lot to come. again, my biggest challenges are, what is the value of some of these, and where is like the safety measures? There just has to be. There has to be, like, humans as a society. I mean, we've all read Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'm not Lord of the Rings, excuse me, Lord of the Flies. I mean, these kids on an island like started like hurting each other or like killing, like, let's be honest, like humans naturally will go a little bonkers if it's just left to themselves, to their own devices. So we have law in place, we have structure to help with those guardrails, and then some. But I'm not suggesting policing all the time, because you want to be free to be yourselves, but
some of it is just in norms, morals, values, norms, like what parents teach their kids about playing nice in, at the jungle gym or something. Or so just one thing to put a bow on it.
Okay.
There's this story about Harry Potter characters in a Balenciaga fashion show. Have you seen that?
I have not seen that. But
okay.
Were they're like reimagined and they're like dressed as, like, because of AI, like generative AI?
I think it was a deep fake, right? Like they were able to put the Harry Potter characters in Balenciaga clothes and make it look like they were going down.
I mean, well, listen, like, again, like, I just can't help but think about safety. Like, think about that with, like, kids are kids and they say things to each other at school and this. I mean, social media is insanely hard. I mean, I'm only in 3rd grade with my daughter, and it's already, she's not on social media, but
if a kid can take a picture, and if they're a bully and take a picture and put their victim doing something that their victim never did, but then have AI create a picture of their victim doing something that could get the kid in trouble or anything like that is scary, right? And as an adult, that is also scary if it were to happen, to us, right? So
it's I mean, a lot of this conversation, I mean, listen, I think I'm grateful for you, Lindsay, for providing space to even discuss this, and also the challenges and concerns with safety. I don't know how to combat that. I mean, it's going to literally take a village of humans to help create safe guidelines and measures around all these experiences. I don't know if we'll ever feel like maybe it's too Pandora's box already. I don't know. And that's frightening, because I don't want this to be such a negative, like, I'm trying to be real. I'm real about it. Because I think the technology is fascinating, and I think we're in a really incredible Renaissance period, and the future is going to be very bright and exciting, but there's a lot that has to happen for us to feel comfortable. So I appreciate you calling out that I'm creating this space, because this has been a long time passion of mine. Like I said, I've always been passionate about designing technology for people, and that is not shared by a lot of other technologists that I have come, worked with in my career. But I think that it is extremely important that the average person understands enough that they can make better choices for themselves and their children and the people around them for how they engage with this technology. Knowing how it works, or who built it, or, what's actually happening is extremely, extremely important. And sometimes what we don't have in our, pop culture conversations is like understanding, right? Like taking the time to, when we talk about TikTok security being a huge issue, like, what does that really mean, and how does that affect the choices you make for yourself every day? Totally. And to echo that, I think a lot of people are like, well, I'm too old for that, or, oh, I don't know, I don't want to deal with that. Learn. It's not a big deal to download Snapchat and at least look at the interface, see how it works. I mean, it's okay. Right. I think that you would doing yourself a disservice by kind of like not putting your head in the sand, but I think it's important to, you don't have to use these tools, but I think learn, and we're here now and the train is completely moving. So continue learning, just jump on, at least read a few articles. There's some great resources. McKinsey shares fantastic resources. Harvard, HBR, like all of the institutions are sharing really more data supported information articles. I highly recommend that. There's some really great communities that are sharing information about just Web3 as a space of time and tools. So I certainly hope that anyone listening who's like, oh, I don't know about this stuff, just learn a little bit about it, and just so you can be a bit more savvy and understand. Not that you have to use them.
Yeah, you don't have to use them, and you don't have to be an expert.
You have to be an expert. By the way, absolutely no one is an expert in quote Web3 tools because we're all learning. But yeah, some people are more deep dive in it, like you and I. But I do think that anyone can learn. I love to share, and so like definitely hop into my LinkedIn if you're curious about Web3 experiences.
Definitely follow Rebecca on LinkedIn. She shares so much. So let's make it make sense.
Okay.
So I asked at the top who is still inside the metaverse. Plenty of people, lots of children as well, playing games in different worlds. Is the technology useful? Yeah, there are a lot of uses for the technology. And I've been asking that over the first 9-10 episodes now of Make Sense. And there's going to continue to be applications for the metaverse, and it will grow with us. So thank you for listening to Make Sense with me, your host, Lindsay Tabus, and guest, Rebecca Orlov, one of the most inspirational women in Web3 and the metaverse. We hope you enjoyed our take on both of these topics. Rebecca, besides LinkedIn, anywhere else people can find you online?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Twitter at Rebecca Orlov. Also TikTok at Epic Playdate Co. LinkedIn, you can find me there. And of course, like Epic Playdate, we're a visual studio. We do creative campaigns, marketing. We love working with other amazing Epic companies and people.
Yeah. And if you want to get in that AR game,
come on over.
Rebecca can hook you up. So if you want to continue to be the smartest person in the room, and who doesn't, hit that subscribe for next week's episode. I always say this every week. I'm in the early days with this, and every subscriber on these platforms, specifically YouTube, makes a huge difference. As always, you can check out all the links and resources in the show notes. That's all for this episode. Catch up with you next time. Thank you, Rebecca, for joining me.
Thank you.